Hello, Board of Education. Thank you for being here this evening. Again, my name is Matthew Lambert. I am a principal here for the district, and I'm excited to give this presentation over religion in schools and share with you some of the things that I have researched and found, and hopefully we can find a area of agreement and an area of the parameters of religion in schools and what have you. So first of all, let me tell you the purpose of my presentation. This presentation will address religion in schools by examining the current trends, the research from articles, and the philosophies on religion in the public school forum. I do want to draw your attention to the little word art we have at the bottom right. You know, there's so many different religions in today's environment, today's world. We have Christianity, we have Judaism, we have Islam, we have Buddhism, we have Hinduism. There's so much that goes into all of this, and we must be cognizant of all of these other religions in the public education setting. So let me talk about the examination of articles and a little bit of the research that I've done. I'm going to talk about religion in the public schools. This is from the Pew Research Center from 2019. And I'm also going to talk about guidance on constitutionally protected prayer and religious expression in public elementary and secondary schools. And this article is from the U.S. Department of Education. So let's talk a little bit about school prayer and what I found from the Pew Research Center. First of all, it's unconstitutional to post the Ten Commandments. We don't see that very often today, but that's just an important aspect, an important point to bring up, that it is unconstitutional. Schools, secondly, would not or will not compete with parents in their religious upbringings of their children. Schools may not sponsor prayer at high school football games. This is very important. The school needs to make that separation of church and state and know that we do not sponsor the prayer at public high school football games. Furthermore, graduations should not be a religious ceremony. Their intent is for our graduates to fulfill their obligations, walk on the stage. Therefore, it should not be conducive to a religious ceremony. And furthermore, in 2019, it was also suggested that free speech and religion are troubling and may require review in the future. This was a Supreme Court decision that it's a very convoluted type of thing to where we really have to be aware of the differences and the reviews that, may happen in the future of the education, the public educational system. Let's go on to the Pledge of Allegiance. The issue of the Pledge of Allegiance and whether it's right or wrong to say the pledge, it has never reached the Supreme Court. After being litigated in lower courts, it has been determined that the recitation of the pledge, it did not constitute an establishment of religion. And of course, under God is still the term in question with that Pledge of Allegiance. And I think we've seen research, we've seen different instances where that is constantly a thing that is debated back and forth. Let's talk about school official responsibility and also student speech. And how do those come together? First of all, in any decisions that have been made, the division is distinctly clear between the federal courts and the Supreme Court. We found that as long as the school did not encourage the content, religious content from student speeches is allowed. That's important to note, that the school does not encourage such content. The school is not responsible if the content was not approved by the school directly. On the other hand, if the school knew beforehand, this could lead to coercion by the district. So we need to be very careful of that. Furthermore, if it is a school-sponsored activity, the student is unable to express their personal views in which the school would be held responsible. Those differences are very important to bring out. If any responsibility on the school, if they know beforehand anything to that effect, we must be careful of those. Religion in the curriculum and what is being taught. First of all, the Bible cannot be taught as literature, and I will expound on that a little bit later. In all of our textbooks, disclaimers have been included when discussion of evolution versus creationism. This is very important, as well as teachers are suggested to teach both theories by the federal law. And of course, this brings up that this is a continuous debate. A quote by the Pew Research Center is very telling. It says, "The debate over how to teach about the origins and development of life in public schools has continued in state legislatures, Board of Education, and other public bodies. In 2019, for instance, policies that could affect the way evolution is taught in public school, often by limiting discussion of controversial issues, were introduced. And in some cases, this has been debated in several states. Arizona, Florida, Maine, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Virginia. This has always been a constant debate, as we may see that it will be a debate in the future. Study of the Bible. This goes on to that whether we are instructing from a devotional purpose or strictly a literature purpose. The study of the Bible is prohibited for educational purposes. For literature purposes, it is deemed successful. And furthermore, for public schools to study the Bible, it would have to include critical analysis rather than devotional purposes. So it's that, analyzing the words critically, analyzing the meaning critically, and making those distinctions between that and a devotional purpose in how are we going to devote our life to that, or what does it mean? That's very important to make that distinction. This also would include any outside groups that are conducting a Bible study session. It's important, it's on the safe side to just, steer away from that. Let's talk about the holiday programs and multiculturalism. First of all, no student should ever feel coerced to participate in a program that goes against their beliefs. The schools, we must allow the option for those children not to participate. For instance, if they don't believe in Christmas, if that is not something that they celebrate, they should not be forced to participate in a Christmas program. Different faiths should not be discussed or held at a higher standard than other faiths. That is very important as well. We must take every faith into account when making any kind of educational decisions, programs, anything to that effect. Another quote states the district court concluded that the curriculum had both the purpose and effect of advancing certain faiths while degenerating the beliefs of others. There was a county, they rewrote the materials to exclude any reference to the views of particular faiths, making them more difficult to challenge successfully in court because the lessons did not condemn or praise any faith tradition. And this is so important. We need to make sure that those lessons that we're teaching do not condemn or praise any faith or tradition. The rights of students, parents, and educators. Students, they may offer prayer before meals, etc., as well as other students may practice their different beliefs if they don't believe in prayer. Students may not engage in any type of political harassment. And student expression is always a difficult concern. Where is that line? So we must adhere to the laws, the regulations, and be cognizant and aware of all of those. Parents, on the other hand, they'll always have the option to opt out of certain activities that they deem appropriate. Transgender students will be accommodated. We must make those accommodations for every student. During instructional hours for the educators, they are encouraged not to express their religion beliefs. But of course, after instructional hours, they are free to express their religion. This told us that they were, free to go to Bible studies, free to do those things with fellow teachers that agree with their beliefs. This leads me to the second article from the U.S. Department of Education on the guidance of protected prayer. Let's talk about this. Students, they may pray during non-instructional time. They may gather for prayer meetings and have access for school facilities to express their religion. And other groups, of course, are available to do the same. Teachers may participate in prayer activities, and this goes again with my last point, as long as it does not occur during the instructional time. For instance, lunch Bible studies, before, after school, those are all accessible. A moment of silence is, of course, permissible as long as students are free to decide what they would like to do. Students may express their beliefs in assignments as long as the assignment is graded on the academic standards only and not their beliefs. Student speeches need to have disclaimers by the school that they are not attributed to the school directly. This goes back to that main point I made in the previous slides. Graduation speeches, what have you, we need to have those disclaimers available. Again, graduation speeches, they must have that disclaimer that the school is not responsible, and schools must not organize any religious ceremonies such as baccalaureate ceremonies, etc. Religious expression. How much are we able to express our religion? Let's talk about this. Students, they have a right to distribute religious material to other students as well as non-religious material. Public schools cannot provide religious instruction, but may instruct about religion. And I put those two words in quotes because there's a distinct difference. They may provide the instruction, however, let's not instruct about it. Religious clothing cannot be singled out, therefore not diminishing freedom or expression from the student's attire. Schools may need to relieve students based on their religious beliefs and customs. Out of activities, what have you, we can relieve them on those. And, this article said, in closing, what was so important in the article, it says a legal opinion is always needed during much of these processes. And that is so true. If we need to, contact that legal authority, that's always available to us and always a way to disseminate any issues that may arise. This leads me to my correlation. This assignment directly correlated to the standard. It helped me reflectively evaluate, communicate about, and implement laws, rights, policies, and regulations to promote student and adult success and well-being. There are many ethical, legal, and equity issues that go into religion in the public school setting. I was able to research the material, realize that as a future principal, we must always be assessing the best alternatives to any given situation. I felt as if I was able to analyze the law and come up with many ways in which I would gain support from both sides of the religion issue. I would communicate with all parties involved, let them know that the laws have to be followed. However, there's always alternatives and ways in which all parties can be satisfied and involved in decision making. I'll constantly be involved in decision making and be able to monitor the progress of any given situation. And by being an open and transparent principal, the doors of communication will enhance the collaboration of all parties. It is increasingly important to realize and assess the different beliefs of everyone in a public school setting. And by doing this, I will be able to become a successful administrator. Relevance. The relevance of this assignment is huge. I know that these will be issues that I'll have to address as a future administrator. I know and understand the content much more than I've ever thought. The legalities that can be seen from religion in school are vast. And I do know as a future administrator that I'll have to be on guard at all times and realize the differences in my staff, students, and parents. By doing so, they'll be able to feel supported. It becomes relevant, as this is a very present issue in many of our school districts. Religion and personal beliefs are very important, and this assignment has proved its relevance by showing that I must be cognizant of that on a daily basis. Finally, my reflection, and this is a very honest reflection now that I'm done with my presentation to the board, but this assignment was very important and close to me as an individual. The part that I read about transgender issues was extremely eye-opening. Being a member of the LGBT community, I understand that my beliefs are very different from many individuals in Woodward, Oklahoma, where I teach for Woodward Public Schools. However, I was a little bothered by this assignment because the superintendent made his feelings known that he was an agnostic. I believe that as an administrator, your feelings should not be so fully conveyed. When I become a principal, I'll understand that my personal feelings about my religion need to be held to a personal level. I will not share those with anyone, as I feel that we should not share those with our students. No matter the size of school, large or small, we shouldn't be aware that the principal was in fact an agnostic or a Buddhist or what have you. That should not be an issue. That is the information that is not needed in a public school setting. Finally, these are my references, again from the Pew Research Center in the U.S. Department of Education, and I thank you so much for listening.